Regular session. Today is Tuesday, August 10, 2021 at approximately 1:38. And I'd like to officially call this session to order. And before the roll call, I'd like to go ahead and exercise Rule 4, Section 5 of our SNILD rules, and this is the emergency electronic appearance. There is, the chair would like to determine that there is a bona fide emergency, and this is in reference to the recent protocols that just got tightened up by our COVID-19 task force. And that Rep. Yumo and our floor leader are now in quarantine. So according to this rule and the bona fide emergency, this satisfies the rule that they can participate and vote and appear for quorum via telephone or any video or any other electronic means. So I just wanted to state that for the record before we call the roll. Okay, so with that, clerk, please call the roll. Oh, before we do that, let's go ahead and rise for prayer. I'm sorry. And please, again, let's keep in our prayers our dear colleague, Rep. Ivan Blanco and his family, and all those that have recently departed. Thank you, members. Go ahead and call the roll.
Representative Fanta,
Present.
Representative Fatou,
Present.
Representative Babauta Selena,
Present.
Representative Babauta Sheila,
Present.
Representative Blanco, Representative Kamatsu Joel,
Not yet.
Representative Kamatsu Vicente,
Present.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Present.
Representative Demapan,
Just to go.
Representative Flores,
Present.
Representative Guerrero, Representative Lizama,
Present.
Representative Probst,
Present.
Senator Kirigua, Representative Sablan Christina,
Present.
Representative Sablan Janpo, Chairman Sablan Vini,
Daget.
Representative Staffler,
Present.
Representative Villa Gomez,
Not yet.
Representative Yang Tamay,
Yang
Representative Yumu,
Present.
Representative Guerrero Joseph, Mr. Chairman, we have 19 members present and 2 members absent.
Thank you. Thank you, clerk. For the record, Representative Joseph Lee Pon Guerrero did reach out to the chair and is hereby excused. And he also wanted me to inform everybody that he is fine from this morning's here. He's doing okay. He's just kind of resting up, but he asked to be excused from this session. And of course, our dear colleague who's with us in spirit always. And Rep. Yumo, we have Rep. Yumo on Teams, and we do have our floor leader, Rep. Sheila. She's on the phone here, so she can hear us right now, and she'll be kind of going in and out from up here. So with that, I'd like to recognize the floor leader for some suspension motions. Go ahead, floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I now would like to motion to suspend all pertinent rules, to amend the agenda and accept miscellaneous communication 22-27. So move.
There's a motion. There's a motion to suspend pertinent rules, to accept communications that did not meet the 72 hours, and it has been seconded. Discussion on that motion? Ready? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Adda,
Yes.
Representative Atta,
Yes.
Representative Babalta Selena,
Hungan.
Representative Babalta Sheila,
Yes.
Representative Kamatsu Joel,
Hungan.
Representative Kamatsu Vicente,
Yes.
Senator De Leon Guerrero,
Yes.
Representative Temapan,
Hungan.
Representative Flores,
Yes.
Representative Lizama,
Yes.
Representative Props,
Yes.
Senator Kirgua, Representative Sablan Christina,
Yes.
Representative Sablan John Paul,
Hungan.
Representative Staffler,
Yes.
Representative Villa Gomez,
Yes.
Representative Yang Tamay,
Over.
Representative Yumu. Mr. Chairman,
Hungan.
Mr. Chairman, all 19 members present voted yes.
Thank you, Clerk, with all 19 members voting yes. The motion carries for the suspension of rules. And just for the record, this is in reference to um, Miscellaneous Communication 22-27, and it is the Open Government Act requests pursuant to 1 CMC subsection 9917A in regards to Site Plan Local Law 22-6. So this communication is hereby property of this delegation. We'll move down to B. Floor leader, recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have SNILD Journal number 22-4, first day, second special session, June 23rd, 2021. I move for its adoption.
Motion to adopt now Journal 22-04. Any seconds? Okay, it has been seconded. Discussion on that motion? Ready? Okay, all in favor to adopt SNOW Journal number 22-4, please say aye. All who oppose say nay. Motion carries. And now we move down to the segment of the agenda on letter C, and this is public comments. And this is the portion of the agenda where we allow anyone in the gallery or in the chamber to offer their public comments. Please keep the comments to 5 minutes. State your name for the record, and please ensure that all your comments pertain to items that are on today's agenda. Thank you. And please state your name for the record, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Gus Noble. I am the group gaming consultant for MP Holdings. I have over 20 years experience in gaming and have spent the last 6.5 years working in Saipan as the group gaming consultant for the two e-gaming clubs, Saipan Vegas and Club 88. I'll try and keep my comments brief, but they're concerning the House Law Bill 22.8 that has been just recently passed and recently signed by the governor, that in effect, well, not absolutely doubled the taxes on the e-gaming venues within Saipan. I just want to make a few comments about that. I'd like to correct the record and then make a plea to the delegation to reconsider the bill. As you're aware, it was mentioned in the when this bill was raised that currently e-gaming venues by law are required to pay a license fee of $2,500 or 15% of gross gaming revenue, whichever is greater. We also have a fee of $100,000 per annum of an operating license. I think I can safely say that this is by far the largest amount of tax paid by a single, by a single industry or business on the island. Everybody pays their 5% BGRT and their income taxes, but we pay additional gross gaming revenues plus that $100,000 fee, which would be the largest amount of fees and taxes paid by a business on the island. We believe that I'd like to correct the record. I watched the YouTube video of the meeting, of this delegation's meeting concerning the passing of the bill. And Ms. Tina Sablam, Representative Tina Sablam, asked in that meeting, who is the e-gaming venues? That question wasn't answered in the meeting. The owners of the club, the two clubs, are a company called MP Holdings. It's a matter of public record, and you can find out who very easily to find out who the owners are of MP Holdings. But it is MP Holdings, no other company. It's 100% owned by MP Holdings. And there is only one company with current active e-gaming licenses in Saipan. The law then therefore attacks just one industry and just one company, which we believe is probably not the intention, or we hope it wasn't the intention of this bill. We also believe that the taxes that we were already paying and have paid on time and in full for the 6 years we've been operating are already a heavy burden on these businesses. As you're aware, the history of e-gaming businesses in the islands is not that good. You've got Tinian's Dynasty Casino that closed. You've got Club C, that was the other e-gaming venue. It is closed. And we don't even want to go near the question of what happens with our friends at the casino. It is not an easy business. It is not a highly profitable business. It is not a business that profits off addicted gamblers. It's a business that offers adult entertainment that was legally allowed to operate in this islands with the 2013 bill raised by the late Governor Inouye in an attempt to raise revenue for the retirement fund that at that time was in deep trouble and needed revenues. At that time, they wanted 1,000 gaming machines. We've never had more than 200, almost 300 machines. I'd also like to correct the record of that meeting where Representative Umel stated that there was 359 e-gaming machines on the island currently licensed. That is not the case. We are the only licensed operator. We have 200 machines licensed and 190 that are operational and paying tax. Therefore, the amount that was mentioned that he raised of per machine tax by saying it was $3,161 is clearly not accurate, because it's almost doubled the amount he's almost doubled the amount of machines that would clearly lower the amount that would be the per machine amount. We would also like to highlight that MP Holdings has had a history and has had since day one a policy of only employing local workers, US or green card holders, and we have never employed or had active employment of CW workers. We also have a policy, which we're very proud of, by the way, and we also have a policy of promoting internally all our managers and supervisors. We don't hire from outside, we train and hire up. MP Holdings believes that we are a good corporate citizen. We pay our taxes on time. We pay our staff above minimum wage, and we also provide unemployment benefits and secure incomes for them. Even in the very difficult times of last year, we laid no one off. We provided people salaries and employment for that whole time during the pandemic. We continue to work closely with our staff and to build build a sustainable business that is able to support the local community, support local families, and be a significant investor in the island. We have bought the Saipan Country Club. We bought and maintained that at a loss. We built a 100-room hotel. We renovated a dilapidated building. We've invested significantly in the island. It is not unfair or unreasonable on investing a significant amount of money to expect to make a return on that money. That's called capitalism, and that's why the industry is here to contribute to the economy. We also would like to highlight to the delegation that we did have some issues with the promoter of the bill, Mr. Representative Ralph Umel, as he is what we believe is a clear and undeniable conflict of interest. He had already previously reclused himself from the gaming committee because his brother, Ray Umel, is the CEO of IPI, a direct competitor of ours, if they ever come back, a direct competitor of ours, and have always been, have the same type of machines and in the same e-business as ourselves, and this bill excludes the casino if they ever come back to business. We think that was probably not appropriate, that Mr. Umel not only authored the bill, promoted the bill, and voted for the bill, where in our minds there was a very clear and undeniable conflict of interest.
Sir, could we try to wrap up the
Okay.
5 minutes? Thank you.
Yep, sure. What we respectfully ask, and we just asked this because we had no idea that this bill was coming. We had no notice. We were not allowed to represent our side of the case, not only for us, for the e-gaming industry, for our businesses, of course, and for our employees and their families who depend on us. And we take that very seriously. And I know members of this committee take employment of locals very seriously. And it's not a stunt. It's not us saying we're making it for a reason to say we save our jobs and we may have to shut down. This massive increase, unprecedented increase, doubling of already a highly taxed industry, does put in our businesses, does make a massive difference on our profitability and sustainability and whether we are getting the appropriate return on the big investment we've made. So to wrap up, we respectfully and plead and ask with this delegation that you revoke the bill, send it back to the House Gaming Committee where it should have gone in the first place, and allow us to represent the industry, represent our businesses, and represent our workers to plead our case, to be able to have a fair and reasonable. We understand these are difficult times. We understand you have to make difficult decisions and raise revenue. We're not fighting that. We just want our opportunity to have our day, to be able to present our position in a fair and reasonable way. And then we can work with the delegation on what we can do, where both sides, where we don't destroy an industry, but you guys get something and we can continue to be a supporter of this community. We plead that you please reconsider this bill, take it back to the House, give us an opportunity to speak and present our case, and then we'll be quiet and move on. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And if you would like, you could submit your written testimony to the Sergeant at Arms.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else? Thank you, sir. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, just state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of this delegation. For the record, my name is Geraldine Dela Cruz, and I'm here in my official capacity as the zoning administrator for the Commonwealth Zoning Board. I'm here to provide comments in opposition to House Local Bill 22-13, which is on the agenda for introduction in today's meeting. The content in the proposed legislation is something that is not new to the Commonwealth Zoning Board. For a year now, an applicant has continuously lobbied and allowed a hollow block plant in a village commercial zone. Here are facts. On August 6, 2020, the zoning board held a public hearing for a hollow block plant categorized as manufacturing and processing in a village commercial zone district. The Commonwealth Zoning Board determined that a hollow block plant is a cement product or consists of cement products. Therefore, the Saipan Zoning Law of 2013 only allows this use in an industrial zone district. Allow me to explain the purpose of a village commercial zone district and that of an industrial zone district. Industrial zones protect and promote economic development by reserving and protecting areas that have particular suitability for industry while controlling effects on adjoining communities. Village commercial zones are intended to provide basic commercial services to adjoining residential communities and accommodates low to medium density residential development. Development in this district is intended to be compatible with the pedestrian and family-friendly character of nearby residential neighborhoods. Typical uses are laundromats, mom and pop stores, medical clinics, schools, parks, etc. Imagine having a hollow block plant in your backyard. Residents in the Asgono area, where an applicant proposed to operate a hollow block plant, have come out publicly opposing this type of development. These residents are in a village commercial zone where their homes are as close as 100 feet away. That's like the front door of this building to the west wall. They've expressed concerns of noise and emissions, possible health hazards, peace and quiet, and basically a negative effect on their neighborhood. The Commonwealth Zoning Board, whom this body entrusted to carry out and administer the Saipan zoning law, have done so, but by not allowing this use in a village commercial zone. House Local Bill 22-13 states that there may be inadequate local supply of concrete hollow blocks, and therefore, in order to prevent purchasing outside the CNMI, that this legislation should be approved. We all know that there is no shortage of hollow blocks in the CNMI, and if so, then let's keep it in industrial zones. If there is a shortage of industrial zones, then perhaps we should effectively rezone and create more industrial zones rather than allowing a use that will negatively affect a residential neighborhood. If this legislation passes, this will allow a hollow block plant near, say, Mount Carmel Cathedral or even Mount Carmel School. Mr. Chairman and members, please listen to the people and the agency responsible for ensuring harmonious compatibility among landowners. We ask that you disapprove House Local Bill 22-13 and protect both present and future residents of Saipan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. De La Cruz. And if you would like, you can submit your written testimony to the Sergeant at Arms to the delegation. Public comments is still open. Is there anyone else that would like to offer public comments? Please know that once we close public comments, we will need to move on with our agenda. Okay, with no more public comments, we move along to item D in our agenda. And at this time, I recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, officially introducing to the delegation House Local Bill number 22-13 to amend section 413 of the Saipan zoning law of 2013 as amended to allow for concrete hollow block manufacturing for conditioned use within village commercial zones and for other purposes offered by myself. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Sablan. And with no other local bills for introduction, we'll move on to E, introduction of local resolutions. None. Down to F, messages from the governor. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 governor's communication. We have governor's communication number 22-7 through 22-12.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions on Governor's communications? Recognize Representative Eto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and just want to thank the governor for signing House Local Bill 22-3, Draft 1, as this is the last appropriation bill that our late colleague and brother, Representative Ivan Blanco, had introduced in becoming Saipan local law, becoming the first Saipan local law of the 22nd legislature. With that, just thank the administration on behalf of our late brother, and thank you again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Eto. Any other for discussion under Governor's communications? Okay, let's move on. Under G, there's no messages from the mayors of Saipan and the Northern Islands. H, reports of communications from the heads and departments and of agencies, none. I, House Communications. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have two, House Communication number 22-8 and House Communication 22-9.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions on House Communications? No, ready? Moved on to J, none for Senate Communications. And now we are on K, Delegation Matters. Clerk.
Delegation matters 22-49 and 22-50.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions on Delegation Matters? None. We move to Miscellaneous Communications. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have 10 under miscellaneous communications number 22-18 through 22-27.
Thank you, Clerk. Any discussions? We ready? Under M, reports of standing committees. And now I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have two standing committee reports. The first being Standing Committee Report number 22-5, SNILD Standing Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations, reporting on committee meeting with rental assistance and utility relief program. Your committee agrees with the recommendation and purpose of this committee report. I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-5. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Ready? All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-5, say aye. All who oppose, say nay. Motion carries. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, we have Standing Committee Report number 22-6, SNILD Standing Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations, reporting on Lost Wages Assistance Program Oversight. Your committee looks forward to receiving the accurate data as requested, as well as the GAR's implementation of the committee's recommendations regarding the LWA program. I move for its adoption.
There's been a motion to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-6. It's been seconded. Discussion on that motion? Ready? All in favor to adopt Standing Committee Report number 22-6, say aye.
Aye.
All who oppose, say nay. Motion carries. And Standing Committee Report number 22-6 is hereby adopted. Moving down to N, there's no reports of special and conference committees. O, no unfinished business. And at this time, we have none on our resolution calendar or bill calendar. So now we move on to miscellaneous business. Anybody under miscellaneous business? Recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering on Mayor's Communication 22-19, are you referring this communication to the Committee on JJO so that we can perhaps start up prepping up to review the new nominee for a position in the chef board?
Thank you, Rep. Sablan. And yes, the floor leader, floor, if we can go ahead and give this to the JGO committee so that they can start the process for the proceedings.
Recognize.
State your privilege.
Just wanted to clarify, because when we started the session, the only communication that was accepted was 22-27, 22-19 was not entered for today's session, so I don't know how the delegation wants to handle that.
Point of
Short,
clarification.
yeah. Short recess now.
The floor leader.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Repsalina, for bringing that up.
Okay, we are back in session, and the chair would like to move back to item G on the agenda, messages from the mayors of Saipan and Northern Islands, and I'd like to recognize the clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have one, Mayor's Communication 22-19. Appointment to the Saipan Higher Education Financial Assistance Board, Mr. Henry Cayo B. Hofschneider.
Thank you, clerk. And with that, I'd like to ask that this communication be referred to the SNILD Committee on JGO so that the process may commence. Okay, so let's go ahead and move back down. Any more on miscellaneous business? Recognize Representative Yang Tamai.
Thank you. Um, Chair. What do you call that? APIL. Do we have anything to do with it? I know there's some kind of fee that we're supposed to put in. September is the last month for it, and we lost one already. So I don't know if how we're supposed to elect another member.
Yes, I did have discussions with Walden Wilbacker during the state memorial of our good colleague, and we will be discussing the fee that is due on an annual basis, and also the appointment letters appointing you from the House, and then of course our late colleague was the other member of the House, and myself in the Senate. Walden Wilbacker, who is the director of APIL, will announce that vacancy for Rep. Ivan's membership in the APIL, and then the speaker will be the one to appoint the new member. Now, as far as the officer positions, that will be dealt with the General Assembly and the board members themselves. So I've been keeping up with Walden, and I will go ahead and communicate with you and the speaker as well as we move forward. We'll give them time to kind of get their stuff together as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, anything else under miscellaneous business? Representative, or let's go, Representative Probst, recognize.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, colleagues. I do want to obviously recognize that Mr. Gus Noble, who came in today with some of his employees, we've had some press that we're bad people. We're shutting down a business that's there to provide jobs and everything. What's sad is that we're all not sharing all the blame. I see that our good colleague, Representative Ralph Yomo, is getting slammed. I think of us as it's important to also perhaps say a few words. And if I may, Chairman,
Go
if I
ahead,
may
go ahead.
speak on that, I want to say for the record that that Representative Ralph Yomo in no shape or form forced me to support that bill. I was not coerced or paid or bribed or anything to support that bill. We've often heard that we have to look at ways to generate revenue. And talking amongst my dear colleagues, we've had some conversations about ways to do it. And we've had conversations, if you remember, about, well, what if you're going to raise, are we going to raise fees or raise taxes? And one of the things I know is that we didn't want to raise taxes on food, on necessities for families. And some of the discussions that we had, if I may,
Go ahead.
is that that these e-gaming businesses, who are they profiting off of? Is it tourists that are going in there and spending their money and losing their money, or are they locals? Are they our people? They also have determined in their comments that it's adult entertainment. It's not addictive. Can they provide a study to us to show that no one is addicted, that everyone going there, it's purely for adult gaming, that no one has ever lost their paychecks, no one's ever had a hard time losing money off of that? I would like to see that study. I also want to recognize the fact that here we are charging poker, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman and colleagues, our poker machines charge 12,000 per machine. Is that the going fee? And our dear colleague wanted to raise the fees from $2,500 to $5,000. Is that correct? Okay. So with that, is $5,000 less than $12,000, Chairman?
No.
Huh?
It's less than
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
5 is
Thank
less.
you. So I still don't see the sinister, Representative Ralph Yomo hiding in the dark, trying to push all of us, and somehow convincing the chairman and all of us to suddenly support this bill. I also look at the time. And correct me if I'm wrong. My memory is not always the greatest, but wasn't the mayor in the audience that day? I think he was. I think some of us have had conversations with the mayor. The mayor is very supportive of Shefa, and I think that I didn't have that personal conversation, but I would think he would be in support of it. I could be wrong, but that's something that we could have that conversation certainly with the mayor. If this is the way that Saipan Vegas is going to try to convince us to change our minds as policymakers by taking us by going to court and by telling us that we cannot legislate because we have violated certain things because we rushed this through, I would like to point out on Governor's Communication number 2211, signed into law, House Local Bill number 22-12, draft 1, to appropriate $560,000 from revenues collected for the 3rd Senatorial District to Public Law 2059, and for other purposes. This was Saipan Local Law 22-5, $560,000 from revenues collected. wasn't this within the 30-day time limit for the mayor to review this? I'm sorry, may I ask the author of that? Is that correct? Yes, so it was. Okay, so forgive me, I didn't really plan this, but again, we have been portrayed as, first of all, doing nothing to generate revenues because we're doing nothing. But then we do come up with a bill, and one in which we are all unanimous in agreement to, and it's bipartisan. We all agreed to it for the simple reasons of trying to raise some revenue. And we didn't hide the bill. We did have sessions, and it did go through. So how is it that one of our colleagues is being singled out? I think that if we're going to get the blame, then all of us have to get the blame, and that includes our governor, because our governor did sign it into law. But this is one time when we all agreed. I mean, and something that we felt strongly on. So, my dear colleagues, I just want to call to say that my conscience is clear when we voted on this because I knew the reasons for it. I looked at what poker was charging. I don't see any of us as doing something sinister or working in the dark or something like that or trying to somehow hurt somebody. And I would like to ask our legal counsel, if possible, to do research on this because I believe that if they're saying that there's a conflict because of IPI with Ray Yomo is the brother of Representative Ralph Yomo, then my question is, with these rises of the fees for the machines, doesn't this also apply to the machines with the casino? And from my understanding, and also talking to my colleagues and counsel, I hope to get the answer to this soon. We don't have to do it now. But if that's the case, if IPI also has to pay higher fees, that's double the fee, then why would Representative Ralph Yumo even introduce it in the first place? Because that would be supposedly hurting IPI, correct? So these are things that we have to consider. Um, I'm going to go to bat and just say, I don't think this is fair to to make our colleague look bad at something that he was simply looking at ways to generate revenue. And I want to thank you, my dear colleagues and chairman, that we did all vote together and we did talk about this amongst ourselves and other things. And we do look forward to having discussions, but I don't think this is the appropriate way of saying that we somehow were doing this deliberately or somebody was doing this. It's just character assassination, and it really is. I think there's better ways to do that. Thank you, Chairman and colleagues.
Thank you, Rep. Probst, and I agree with you. And just for the record, during that day on the session, we had our good Congresswoman Tina, who really dug deep and went zoomed in on the bill and provided some good amendments. And we actually took an hour to do that, and that's due diligence. And the money that will derive from these taxes, they go to our students, our Shefa students. So it's all a policy call. We did have a discussion with the director this morning and legal counsel, just to address the OGA request, and that's going through the process. We are submitting or gathering all the documents for them, and if it was, I think their point was that we didn't give the mayor 30 days, but we did look into the code, the Commonwealth Code, and we have to give the mayor 30 days, but it doesn't say from when. And those are just different interpretations by different people. But I just want to say it for the record also that it was a policy call, and we all voted unanimously to support the bill with the amendments that Congresswoman Tina came up with to strengthen the bill. So I just wanted to say that for the records that this delegation did do their due diligence in coming up with their decision. Okay. Anybody else? Rep. Sibulan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also with regards to Saipan Local Law 22-6, I highly request that your office with the Legislative Bureau monitor this lawsuit. I understand that the defendant of the lawsuit is the Department of Finance,
Yeah.
but part of the lawsuit is questioning the proceedings of this very august body. And I only think that it's fitting that we allow our councils also to monitor the case as they are questioning our vote and how we proceed with this voting of House Local Bill 22-8, which became Saipan Local Law 22-6. Thank you.
So noted, Rep. Sablan, and that was in our discussions in this morning's meeting with the director and the legal counsel and the delegation clerk and general clerk. So recognize Rep. Tina Sablan. And
Thank
then-
you, Mr. Chairman. And actually, along the same lines as our colleague, Rep. Sablan, I wanted to suggest that perhaps, in addition to monitoring this lawsuit, that we consider submitting either an amicus brief or intervening in some way, just to assert the power of this body. I mean, it is true, even without Representative Umol's vote on this bill, 20 other members voted yes. And you know, there are some procedural questions that are raised by the lawsuit, and that are also implicated in Mr. Dotz's August 6, 2021 letter to the Bureau. But you know, I do think it is worthwhile for us to consider weighing in on the question. And you know, the legality, the prerogative of the legislative body to vote on and pass legislation and follow our own procedures. So I would also note, you know, for just to respond to the suggestion that this bill was rushed under cover of darkness, and that there, you know, there have been some suggestions that you know, that we were being secretive in some way. For this bill to have made it to the delegation, it had to appear on the House calendar 3 session days at least. There were ample opportunities to for the public, members of the public, stakeholders to weigh in. And as our colleague, the chairman of the gaming committee, noted, the mayor was present in the gallery when this bill was on our local delegation's agenda, and he had opportunity to comment then. So you know, I do align myself, I guess, with the comments that have been made so far by our colleagues, Reps. Probst and Sablan, and of course by yourself, Mr. Chairman. And I'm interested in seeing how this case gets resolved. And you know, at the same time, I think it would be worthwhile to engage in dialogue with the company representatives and the employees that have come here. You know, they suggested that perhaps there could be some way for us to reach a resolution without going through litigation. And I'm open to having that dialogue as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Sablan. Recognize Rep. Injadumpan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And in follow-up to the comments being made on this local law, I think it's also important to note that it was never the intent of this body to displace citizens that are employed at any of these facilities, these gaming facilities. And so I think that because the argument is now being highlighted on employment of citizens in the workforce in that particular industry, that maybe we ask the appropriate committee to shed light on this issue and take a look at their annual revenues generated and take a look at how much they're spending on personnel. And then we talk about who really has the bigger slice of the pie here and the profitability ratio. Because I think the legislative intent we undertook on this bill is being misconstrued. And if we put the numbers out there and the data is there to support the actions we took for the benefit of the Commonwealth, I think the appropriate committee should take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rep. Odan. Rep. Dumapan, and we see the chair of gaming nodding in agreement too. So, okay. So, anyone else? We're on miscellaneous business. Are we ready? Ready? Okay. And then, so we're now on S under announcements. I just want to inform the members that I will be off island on starting the 18th to attend my sister's wedding. And I will put out the proper notice. But just for the members, our floor leader, Sheila, of course, in the absence of our good vice, Chairman Blanco, our floor leader, Sheila, will um, be the chair, acting chair in my absence. So I just wanted to inform, and we'll have the actual DOAs come out. Okay. Anyone else for announcements? Okay, good. And down to T, and I now recognize the floor leader for the proper motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I motion at this time for adjournment, subject to the call of the chair. So moved.
Okay, there's a motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. Discussion? I'm not aware. Yeah. Yeah, we went announcements. We went down to adjournment. Okay. So there's been a motion. It's been seconded. Discussion? All in favor to adjourn today's SNILD session, say aye. All who oppose, say nay. Motion carries. Our SNILD session is hereby adjourned. Thank you, members.